looked at yourself lately? You're almost 33 with no man, no ring, no grandchildren, and there's no hope inside because you never even talk about anyone. Time is ticking, Nonye. You might have your career, but a woman is not complete without a husband.
Once upon a time, in the bustling city of Aba, there lived a brilliant young woman named Nonye, the first daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Okonkwo. Nonye had always been the pride of her family. She was intelligent, hardworking, and a role model for her younger siblings, Nyenwa, Kelechi, and Chidi. After years of dedication and academic excellence, Nonye achieved her dream and became a resident doctor at a multinational company's clinic. Her parents were beyond proud. Ah, Nonye, our golden daughter, Amokonkwo would say at every family gathering. She's a doctor now, working in a big company. But despite all the pride and joy surrounding her career, something else lingered. An unspoken pressure. Her younger sisters were getting married one after the other, and with each wedding, the pressure on Nonye to find a husband grew. When Kelechi, the youngest of them all, tied the knot, things took a more serious turn. One evening, after the wedding festivities, Nonye's aunt, Chika, sat next to her and asked, in a sharp tone, "Chinonye, what is really wrong with you? You're an accomplished doctor, working for a great company, but you've never brought a single man home." Her eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Kelechi, who is almost 8 years younger than you, is married now. And here you are, still jumping around without shame. Oh dear." Nonye's chest tightened at her aunt's words. She had always been able to brush off her mother's subtle comments, but this was a direct hit. She managed a smile, trying to hide her discomfort. But deep down, she felt the weight of expectations creeping in, heavier than ever before. One evening, the Okonkwo family sat around the dinner table when Nonye's brother Chidi walked in with excitement written all over his face. "Nonye, I just spoke with Nyenwa," Chidi said, barely able to contain his excitement. "She says she has big news for you." Nonye raised an eyebrow, confused. "Me? What could it be?" she asked, a mixture of curiosity and unease in her voice. The table suddenly grew silent. Nonye noticed the uneasy glances exchanged between her parents and Chidi. Finally, he cleared his throat. "Well, Mama asked the young one to help you find a husband." Nonye dropped her fork, her eyes widening. "What?" she exclaimed, her voice rising with anger. "Why would you do that?" She turned to her mother, feeling betrayed. "What's wrong with that?" her mother responded sharply. "Have you looked at yourself lately? You're almost 33 with no man, no ring, no grandchildren, and there's no hope inside because you never even talk about anyone." Nonye let out a long sigh, feeling the familiar weight of the pressure she had been trying to ignore. "Mama, I'm 32, not 69, she said, trying to lighten the mood. "Marriage will come when it's time, and please tell Nyenwa to stop her search immediately." Her mother leaned forward, her tone serious. "Time is ticking, Nonye. You might have your career, but a woman is not complete without a husband." Nonye stood up from the table, frustration boiling over her. "I will marry when I'm ready, Mama, not when you say I should." And with that, she walked out of the dining room, leaving her family behind in silence. The pressure at home reached its peak just a few weeks later. It was a sunny Saturday afternoon when Auntie Chika showed up unexpectedly at their house, a wide grin on her face. "Nonye, my golden niece," she exclaimed, pulling Nonye into a tight hug. "I've found the perfect man for you." Nonye groaned eternally.
Auntie, please, what is it again with you and marriage? This is a perfect match, Auntie Chika said, her eyes twinkling with excitement. His name is Nnamdi, and he's very well to do. He has lots of shop at Arera International Market. He will take good care of you, and you will like him. Reluctantly, Nonya agreed to meet Nnamdi at her aunt's house the next day. When she arrived, her jaw dropped. Nnamdi was well built, but his dressing was just funny. He was on a short jean trouser and a brightly colored t-shirt. He obviously looked like a money misroad, dressed with long chains on his neck. His booming voice startled her every time he spoke. So, you're the famous Nonye? Nnamdi boomed, grinning as he flexed his arms. I have heard a lot about you. I was almost a doctor myself, but life had other plans. Now, I am a businessman. I am an importer and an exporter. No container. If you marry me, I will treat you very, very nice. Nonye stifled a laugh. The man was bouncing up and down in his seat, as if he was preparing for a marathon. After an hour of awkward conversation, Nnamdi clapped his hands and announced, I must go now, my dear. I want to go and clear my container. But you will hear from me soon, oh? Nonye forced a smile as he left, turning to Auntie Chika once the door closed. Auntie, please, no more, she pleaded. The man could barely sit still. But Auntie Chika only laughed. You, Nonye, you're too picky. Do you want to be single forever? A few weeks later, Nonye's mother arranged yet another meeting. This time with Mr. Okoronkwo, a wealthy businessman who had lost his wife. He is a man of means, Nonye, her mother insisted. You will be very comfortable. When Nonye arrived at Mr. Okoronkwo's home, he was not just old, he was ancient. His walking stick clicked against the floor as he shuffled towards her. She felt she was meeting her grandfather's friend, not a potential husband. My dear, Mr. Okoronkwo rasped, his voice weak but still eager. You are as beautiful as the full moon in August. I could give you everything. Houses, cars, vacations to Dubai and any other country of your choice. Nonye struggled to maintain her composure, forcing a smile. Thank you, sir, she muttered, already planning her escape. I'm looking for someone to take care of me in my old age, Mr. Okoronkwo continued. In return, I will shower you with gifts and my everlasting love. Nonye's mind screamed for her to run. Sir, I think about it, Mr. Okoronkwo interrupted, gripping her hand with his bony fingers. It's a good offer. That night, Nonye returned home and burst into laughter as soon as she closed the door. Where do you people find these men? She exclaimed. That man could be my ancestor. Her mother, however, far from amused. Nonye, you are too picky. Do you want to wait until you're 40 before you marry? Nonye rolled her eyes. Mama, I'd rather die single than marry one of these men you bring for me, she said. And yet, Aunt Chika wasn't done. A few weeks later, she found another suitor. This time, it was Efe, a fitness fanatic. Efe is a physical specimen, Aunt Chika boasted. His muscles alone can carry you through life. Nonye reluctantly agreed to meet Efe at a gym. As soon as she arrived, Efe greeted her with a massive dumbbell in hand. The man was well built like a wrestler, with muscles that seemed ready to burst from his clothes. Hello, beautiful. Want to lift some weights with me? He asked, grinning as he flexed his muscles. Nonye blinked.
not sure whether to laugh or run. Thank you, she replied awkwardly. No worries. Watch me. Efe began doing pull-ups, narrating his strict protein diet between sets. These muscles are well built on hard work, just like marriage. You need discipline and dedication. Nonye couldn't help but laugh. Efe, this isn't a marriage interview. Do you ever relax? Only when I sleep, Efe replied with a wink. Needless to say, there was no second date. The parade of suitors left Nonye exhausted. The pressure from her family had become unbearable, and even her neighbors had begun whispering about her matchmaking journey. Frustrated, Nonye decided to relocate to Lagos, hoping the distance would ease the pressure. But her mother's daily phone calls followed her like a shadow. Nonye, did you meet anybody today? Mama would ask. What about in church? Are there no good men in your church? Nonye could feel the weight of her family's expectations pushing her down, day by day. Then fate brought Chike into her life. Chike was a successful businessman whom Nonye met at a corporate event. He was smooth. So smooth, within days, Chike swept Nonye off her feet with expensive gifts, sweet words and grand promises. I'm tired of this single life, Chike confessed, just 2 weeks into their relationship. Will you marry me, Nonye? Nonye hesitated. They had barely known each other for 2 weeks, but Chike ticked all the right boxes. He was handsome, accomplished, and seemed like a good Christian man. I want us to take it slow, Nonye replied. We should get to know each other better. What is there to know? Chike snapped, though he quickly softened his tone. I don't have any criminal records, he joked. If you say yes, we could get married next week. Next week? Nonye repeated, a mixture of excitement and confusion swelling in her voice. But I haven't even met your parents. I don't have any parents, Chike replied, his tone growing somber. They are all dead. I've lost everything that matters in life. That's why I need you. You've brought life back into my life, Nonye. Nonye hesitated again, but the pressure to marry, to escape her family's expectations, clouded her judgment. Eventually, she agreed. News of Nonye's engagement spread like wildfire. Mama Okonkwo was overjoyed. What does he do for a living? She asked. He is a successful businessman, Nonye replied. There's nothing more to ask, she said, satisfied. The wedding was grand. The Okonkwo family danced with joy, relieved that their daughter was finally married. But the honeymoon phase didn't last long. Within months, Chike began revealing a darker side. He became controlling. I want you to start paying your salary into my account, Chike said one evening, his voice firm. We'll run this family as one. Nonye hesitated. But I need my own money. No buts, Chike snapped. I'm your husband. I decide what happens in this house. We should operate everything, our plans and dreams, as one, he commanded. Reluctantly, Nonye agreed, hoping that it would bring peace to their home. But things only got worse. Chike began isolating her from her family. You're always on the phone with your family members. What are you guys always talking about? I want you to minimize those calls. You're a married woman now. You should act like one, he said. Few months later, Nonye became pregnant, and she hoped that the news would bring some joy back into their crumbling marriage. Chike, I'm pregnant, she announced, her face lighting up with hope. Chike barely looked up from his phone. So, he muttered disinterested. Nonye's heart sank. What do you mean by so? I am carrying our baby, she repeated, a mix of anger and strain in her voice. Chike immediately stood up. If you dare raise your voice at me next time, I will teach you the lesson of your life. he said sternly. Nonye stood, trembling in the dimly lit living room. Her heart shattered into pieces. She had never imagined that marriage, something she once looked forward to, would turn into this unending nightmare. She had hoped the pregnancy would bring them closer, that it would spark some form of joy in Chike's heart. But it seemed to have pushed them even further apart. Solitude became her only escape, her shield. She resolved to focus on her work, avoiding unnecessary conversation at home. While Chike would disappear for days, returning only in the dead of the night, drunk and reeking of regret. One fateful night, Chike staggered through the front door, his footsteps heavy with alcohol. His breath was thick with the stench of whiskey as he slurred, fumbling to take off his shoes. Nonye, her belly swollen with their unborn child, watched him from across the room, the tears already welling in her eyes. Chike, why do you always come home so late? She asked, her voice a mixture of desperation and fatigue. She had asked these questions before, but tonight she needed an answer. Tonight she wanted to understand. Chike stopped in his tracks. His bloodshot eyes looked at her. He let out a low, cruel laugh that made her heart sink further. Why? He mocked, stumbling towards her. Because I hate you, Nonye. The words hit her like a slap across the face. Her breath caught in her throat. But Chike wasn't finished. I can't stand your company, he spat, his voice thick with anger. I just married you for your money, and you were so desperate, so gullible. He swayed slightly, leaning against the wall for support. But his sneer never wavered. A desperate 32-year-old woman that nobody else wanted. You should be grateful I even married you. Noye's vision blurred with tears, her body trembling with the weight of his words. She felt a coldness creeping into her chest where hope had once lived. How had her life come to this? The man she had once loved now stood before her, tearing apart every piece of her. Chike, how can you say that now? How? She whispered, her voice shaking. We're having a child together. I don't. You don't wrong, Chike backed, cutting her off. This was never about love, Noye. It was about my survival. My survivor. You were nothing but an opportunity. And now, now you're just an inconvenience. Nonye collapsed onto the nearest chair, her hands clutching her swollen stomach as sobs raked her body. She had never felt so broken, so utterly alone. The man she had married was a stranger, no worse than a stranger. He was a tormentor, a constant reminder of her worst mistake. As Nonye's pregnancy progressed, Chike's behavior became even more violent. His absences became longer too, his temper unstable. One evening, as Nonye stood in the kitchen stirring a pot of soup she was making, she heard the door slam open. Chike stormed in, his face twisted with anxiety. Nonye, I need money now, he barked, his voice sharp with urgency. Nonye paused. Gripping the spoon tightly, she turned to face him, her swollen belly brushing against the kitchen counter. Money? I don't have any money, Chike. You've taken everything from me. My entire salary goes straight into your account. And you haven't even given me a single naira. Now you want more? Where should I get it from? Chike's face contorted with fury. Shut up, he roared, advancing toward her. I've warned you not to talk back to me. His voice was a thunderclap, and before Nonye could move, he lashed out, striking her hard across the face. Nonye staggered backward, clutching her cheek in disbelief. Chike, please, she began, but her words were cut short as he struck her again, this time harder, his fist landing blow after blow. Her vision blurred as she collapsed to the floor, her body racked in pain. Blood trickled from her nose as she gasped for breath, her hand instinctively cradling her belly. Help! She cried weakly, but her voice was drowned out by Chike's frantic movements. Without any other word, Chike dashed into the bedroom, rummaging through the drawers. Within moments, he came back again, car's keys in his hands. He glanced at Nonye, bleeding and trembling on the floor, but his expression remained cold. "I'll be back whenever I feel like it," he spat, before rushing out of the door and speeding away in their car. Nonye lay there, gasping for air, tears mixing with the blood on her face. "Help! Somebody help!" she cried. The world around her blurred, her vision darkening. But her desperate cries reached the ears of her neighbor, Mrs. Adebayo, who had just heard the commotion. The front door flew open and Mrs. Adebayo rushed in, her face a mix of panic and concern. "Nonye! Oh my God! What has he done to you?" she exclaimed, rushing to kneel beside her. I think something's wrong with my baby," Nonye whispered, her voice weak as she cradled her stomach. The pain was unbearable, sharp and unrelenting. "Hold on, dear. Just hold on. We need to get to the hospital now. We need to get to the hospital." Mrs. Adebayo quickly grabbed her phone and called for help, her hands trembling as she did. Minutes felt like hours as they waited, but soon, Nonye was rushed to the hospital, barely conscious. At the hospital, chaos erupted as the doctors quickly assessed Nonye's condition. Her baby was in distress, and an emergency surgery had to be performed immediately. Nonye clung to the consciousness, praying silently, her mind racing. "Please let my baby survive. Please, God, let my baby survive this," she whispered as the world around her went black. Hours later, Nonye awoke to the sound of soft beeping from the machines around her. A voice slowly came into focus, and she saw her mother sitting beside her bed, holding her hand tightly. "Mama," Nonye whispered, her voice barely audible. Her mother's face lit up with relief. "Oh, thank God, you're awake," she said, her eyes brimming with tears. "The doctors had to operate, but you and the baby are okay. You made it, Nonye. You're both safe." Nonye exhaled slowly, her heart swelling with gratitude and sadness all at once. She wanted to feel relieved, but the weight of what had happened crushed her spirit. Nonye was discharged from the hospital, but the bruises on her heart hadn't healed. As she stepped into her home, her mother at her side, something felt off. The air in the room was cold and the house, it was just empty. Her heart pounded as she walked further inside, her eyes moving around the barren living room. "Mama," she whispered, fear creeping into her voice. "Where is everything?" The room that once held their furniture, their belongings, their life was stripped bare. Her hand trembled as she spotted something on the floor. A note. She recognized the handwriting instantly. It was Chike's handwriting. With shaking hands, she picked it up and read the words aloud, her voice breaking as she did. "I have left you for good. I've gone to be with my real family. Don't look for me, desperate woman." Nonye stared at the note, her mind reeling. Chike had taken everything, their furniture, their money, their future. He had abandoned her and their newborn child without a second thought. The room began to spin. Her legs gave way and she collapsed to the floor, the note still clutched in her hands. "Mama, everything is gone," Nonye whispered, her voice hollow. "He's taking everything." Her mother rushed to her side, wrapping her arms around her daughter. "Nonye, my child, we will get through this," she whispered, though her voice wavered with her own pain. "We will rebuild. You are not alone." But Nonye felt utterly alone. The life she had dreamed of, the future she had imagined with Chike, had crumbled into dust. Her life was in ruins, and for days, She barely spoke, barely ate. She contemplated ending it all, thinking that maybe, just maybe, death would be kinder than the pain she was drowning in. One night, as she sat by the window, her newborn sleeping beside her, she stared into the darkness, the temptation of escape gnawing at her. But as she glanced her child, so innocent, so unaware of the chaos around them, something shifted inside of her. Her baby stirred, letting out a soft cry, and in that moment, Nonye realized she couldn't leave. She couldn't let it be the end of her story. She had to fight, not just for herself, but for her child. With the help of her family and friends and the unwavering support of her mother, Nonye slowly began to reclaim her life. She hired a lawyer and initiated a legal action against Chike, determined to fight for what was rightfully hers. Along the way, shocking truths resurfaced. Chike had been living a double life. He had another family, a wife and 4 children in the same city. The man who claimed to have no family had built an entire false identity to deceive her. "He never loved me," Nonye whispered one evening, tears streaming down her face, as she shared the truth with her closest friend. "He married me for my money. Everything was a lie." Her friend took her hand, squeezing it tightly. "Nonye, you're stronger than this. You will rise above it." And so, piece by piece, Nonye began to rebuild. She returned to work, found strength in her family, and slowly but surely, her once vibrant spirit returned. The scars from Chike's betrayal would always remain, but Nonye had learned to live again, for herself and for the child. The end. I hope you enjoyed watching this story. This story teaches valuable lessons about self-worth, the importance of independence, and the danger of making life-altering decisions based off of societal pressure rather than personal readiness. Nonye's story is a powerful reminder that true happiness and fulfillment comes from within, not from external validation. One of many lessons from this story is that you should not let society pressure you or dictate your choices. Her story reminds us of the dangers of rushing into major decisions like marriage due to external pressure. It's essential to marry for the right reasons, not out of desperation or societal expectations. Another lesson here is that you should value your independence and do not ignore red flags. Nonye's decision to give up her financial independence made her vulnerable to Chike's manipulation and control. Maintaining personal and financial independence, even in marriage, is vital for self-protection and empowerment. Well, these are what I learned. I would like to hear from you. Have you ever felt pressured by society to do something? Maybe by family or friends, to make a significant decision? How did you handle it? Another question is, in relationships, what red flags do you think people should never ever ignore? I would like to hear the answers from the comment section. Thank you so much for watching with us till the end. Hope you enjoyed this story. If you did, please like, comment, and share this story with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories like this.